It's Friday, March 6, 2020. Another crazy day on Wall Street today. Dow Jones closes in the negative, minus 256 points. Larry Kudlow came out today. He believes this whole infection has already been contained and that you should not panic. You should just go to work. So don't panic, just go to work. Everything's been contained, nothing to worry about. Dow Jones down minus 256 points today. I want to talk about the Dow Jones a little bit here in these markets. The Dow Jones cut losses by 500 points in just the last hour of trading. The Dow Jones was down nearly 900 points earlier this morning. When I watch the blatant criminality, the magic tricks, the manipulation, the illusion, and this Ponzi scheme right before my very eyes, it's pathetic. It's embarrassing what I'm watching. How anybody can believe that any of this is real is beyond me. This is so fake. The trickery that you are watching take place right before your very eyes, down nearly 900 points. They almost brought this thing. I thought they would bring it back into the green. They brought it under 200 points for a brief few seconds. And I really thought they were going to take this thing green today, but obviously probably didn't want to make it look that obvious. So down only 256 points. So while the market is roaring back on no good news, the 10-year was down as low as 0.66. I think it's right now in the around 0.75, 0.76. Oil was down over 12% at one point today. So I guess this was the catapult that pushed these markets, surged these markets in the very last hour to roar back and burn off almost 700 points today. So down almost 900. We closed down 256 on absolutely no good news. In fact, the news continues to get worse. Bailouts are coming. Rate cuts are coming. Massive money printing is coming. More repo injections are coming. Look, the whole thing is fake. I believe anybody in these markets right now, you're taking a huge risk. They are running out of ammo. They are getting themselves in a corner here. And I believe that these markets are on borrowed time. Not to say that everything's going to implode next week or next month, but just think about where you're putting your money. This thing is so rigged. And when they lose control, this thing, we are going to see, no doubt, the biggest crash the world has ever seen, because the whole thing is artificial. The whole thing is a massive, massive illusion being propped up by one entity, and that is the Federal Reserve. We're not seeing this market roaring back today because the economy's booming. It wasn't the job numbers, which we know are completely manipulated. It was because these markets know another rate cut is coming, probably 75 basis points. That's going to put us right about zero. That's all these markets care about. But I don't believe rate cuts are going to help these markets now. The debt is too big. And it's getting absolutely out of control. CNBC today, job growth smashes expectations for February as unemployment falls back to 3.5%. Non-farm payrolls rose 273,000 in February. That's incredible, isn't it? But we know the massive manipulation now that is taking place in these job numbers. I don't believe them. And if you want to believe them, you need to know that probably roughly 80% of these jobs are all low-wage, low-paying jobs. And I'm going to break these job numbers down probably tomorrow so we can actually look where the increases were. I believe it was the medical field that got the biggest increase. So those are all going to be low-wage medical assistants and et cetera. So again, it looks good on paper, 273,000 jobs. So we have more Uber and Lyft drivers, more people working at Starbucks, and we have more medical assistants, and we have more low-wage, low-paying jobs in America. The market didn't care about these job numbers. Earlier today, we were down nearly 900 points later in the day, we were fluctuating between 700 and 800 points down. It didn't care about the job numbers at all. All it cared about was when the Fed was going to intervene. And it knows that right now it's looking like we are going to get a 75-point basis cut coming very, very soon. That's all these markets care about. YahooFinance.com. Ammo sales are soaring. So it's not just hand sanitizer. It's not just toilet paper. It's not bottled water. It's ammo. It is soaring. And in this article, it gives the states with the biggest increase in ammo sales. North Carolina, their ammo sales increased 179%. Georgia, 169%. Pennsylvania, 140%. Texas, 128%. Florida, 76%. Illinois, 67%. New York, 48%. Ohio, 40%. And if you get a chance today, it's a great opportunity to go get some, because as we're seeing store shelves being wiped out, this is going to be the next shelf to be wiped out. It's going to be brass. And so, get these things while you can. But isn't it interesting? We're looking at these lines in Costco. We're seeing, what's happening in ammo sales. Costco now will only allow you to buy a certain amount of these products now because they're getting sold out. So they're limiting you now to a certain amount of purchases because they cannot hold the inventory. So think about some of the concern we're seeing now socially, yet the stock market roars back today. The stock market should have been down over 1,000 points today. In fact, the stock market probably should have been down about 2,000 points today, not down 256 points. It should have been down 2,000 points. When you see what is going on right now here in the U.S., people are starting to get very concerned. We're seeing some panic. You look at what's happening to this economy, and I can't say it enough. The economy is sick. We still have factories closed in China. We have supply chains broken. We don't see the containers at the Port of Long Beach. There's no inventory. The containers are not there. I don't know about you, but I'm seeing less trucks out here on I-10 in the last week than I've ever seen before. Noticeably less big rigs rolling down I-10. Los Angeles Times, unfazed gamblers, Las Vegas on edge as the infection arrives. They just got a case, I think it was yesterday or today in Nevada. And I believe that Vegas is going to take a massive haircut when this thing really starts ramping up. 6.6 million people visit each year for conventions and business. 20% of these people that come to Vegas are from foreign countries. When this thing hits Vegas, it's going to be very, very hard to hide. And just imagine the financial impact when this infection hits a city like Las Vegas. The Atlantic, the strongest evidence yet that America is botching the testing. We've only tested, this is in the Atlantic today, we've only tested 1,895 people. And of those people, 10% have tested positive. We're going to see humongous numbers coming in the next few weeks. CNBC today, McDonald's cancels in-person convention for worldwide franchisees due to this infection. $30 million convention now canceled for McDonald's worldwide franchisees convention. CNBC also today, the market now sees the Fed cutting by 75 basis points in March. So we have repo injections. I didn't even check to see how many billions of dollars the Fed had to inject today, but we have repo injections. We have the Fed buying in these markets. We have rate cuts. We got tax cuts coming. They're doing everything. And yet they're telling you the consumer is strong. The U.S. economy is strong. The fundamentals are strong. But look at what is going on. It's pathetic. Anybody that believes this really needs to be examined. Bank of America, we are in a global recession. Bank of America CIO, Chief Information Officer, shared some interesting stats while the Dow Jones was climbing back today, roaring back on no good news. These are some stats that I think we should all look at. For this year, gold is up 7.9%. Government bonds are up 3.8%. The US dollar is up 1%. Cash is at 0.3%. High yield bonds, 0%. Global equities, negative 4.8%. Commodities, negative 14.5% year to date. The global equity market cap collapsed by a record $9 trillion, or 2/3 of China's GDP in 9 days. While developed market 10-year bond yields are now at 120-year lows. We're seeing record lows right here today in the US. Where was all the good news today to bring this market back? Now, granted, it did close down 256 points, but it should have closed down 2,000 points. It was down 900. How did it just miraculously trim off 700 points? Somebody please answer me that, other than the Federal Reserve coming in and buying up this market. Boston Fed President Eric Rosengren said the Fed should be allowed to buy a broader range of assets, either by change of mandate or through a facility that allows it to buy stocks if it lacks sufficient ammunition to fight off a recession with rate cuts and bond purchases. The Fed will be buying the effing dip. So just sit back for a minute and just think where this is all going. We're going to 0%, more than likely going to negative. We're going to have a central bank, the Federal Reserve now, just buying the entire stock market. Just think about the valuations of assets. There will be no real or true valuation of any asset when the central bank, the Federal Reserve, comes in and buys up everything. Imagine what this is going to do to America. Imagine the amount of money printing that is going to take place and that is taking place right now. The Fed is buying right now. The Fed is printing massive amounts of money. Their balance sheet is expanding. They're blowing out hundreds of billions of dollars into this repo market, and they are creating massive amounts of debt. Look at where this is all going. It is going to a very, very dangerous place. We are going to continue to print massive amounts of money. We're going to see massive bailouts. We're on the hook for $8.5 billion now fighting this infection. And this is just beginning. This is going to get much worse. They think that they can print their way out of this. They think that by creating more debt that we're going to get out of this. They are doing what got us into this problem, creating massive debt, printing money. We have no true valuations of these assets. This is really, really getting dangerous. And if you're reading stuff like this, like I am, if you're paying attention to what's happening in the real world, then you know the dollar is going to be on borrowed time as they print it, devalue it. And, you know, you got to think, what do you do in a situation like this? You got to be holding hard assets like gold and silver because the dollar is going to come under extreme pressure. They are going to vaporize what's left of the US dollar. The stock market is absolutely, this thing is going to get out of control. And not to say that, you know, we'll probably see a rebound next week, but with what you just witnessed today, watching more of the shenanigans, watching the Fed and the Plunge protection team jump in here and try to save the day. These markets, this Dow Jones should have been down 2,000 points today, period. Where's the good news? Where's the light at the end of the tunnel? They're not being honest with you about this economy and this infection. We have no idea how bad this is going to be. Is it just a cold? Is it going to go away in a couple weeks? Is the warm weather going to take it away? What if it doesn't? Can you afford to be wrong? Listen, this is a great weekend to go out, buy some brass, go buy some precious metals, go buy some canned food, some water, any preparations you need, medical supplies, whatever you need. It's a great weekend to do that. Let's pray to God that this doesn't get out of control, that there's some sort of miracle that saves this. But I think we got some real serious times coming. And every day I watch this stuff. Every day I read what's going on. Every day I look around at my environment. It is not getting better. It is not heading in a positive direction. Things are going the wrong way. And sooner or later, the day of reckoning is coming. The piper must be paid. Are you prepared to deal when reality comes to these markets, when reality comes to this economy, when reality comes to America? Are you prepared to deal with it? Have a great weekend. Share this video. Talk to every one of you very soon.